Good afternoon. I'm Richard Flaherty, President of the International Corrugated Packaging Foundation, and I wish to welcome you to this 12th Annual Careers in Corrugated Teleconference. Also wish to thank the packaging, the graphic communications, the supply chain, the marketing, and the business students and faculty from the 17 campuses that are here today. You may best know the International Corrugated Packaging Foundation for the donations of corrugated equipment that we've provided to many of your campuses, the CAD tables, the software, and the testing equipment. ICPF's principal purpose for the production of this annual teleconference is to provide faculty and students more insight to the corrugated packaging and display industry. And we wish to issue everyone that's here. If you're a business student, a packaging student, a graphic communication student, a graphic design student, a marketing and sales student, or a supply chain student, we want you to consider a career in corrugated packaging and sales. Most importantly, upon entering the industry on graduation, many of you will play a major role in developing even more sustainable packaging for a greener planet tomorrow. You can learn more about the careers in corrugated packaging by going to our website, www.careersincorrugated.org. And also you can join our LinkedIn job network by emailing info@icpfbox.org. That's info@icpfbox.org. Our moderator today is Brett Kirkpatrick, and this is Brett's 10th year. Brett, thank you for your contribution to the teleconferences.
Thank you, Richard. It's actually my 11th year making the trip from what normally is sunny Southern California to Michigan State and braving the ice and snow and storms once a year, and it's kind of fun to come out and see all the shiny young faces and that look of let's go conquer the world, and I enjoy every year coming and seeing that and being part of that. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. For me, I'm still in the morning, and just got done with a great breakfast, actually. Welcome to the ICPF's 12th Annual Careers in Corrugated International Teleconference. The ICPF is an educational foundation co-sponsored by the Association of Independent Corrugated Converters, headquartered in the Washington, D.C. area, and the Fiberbox Association in Chicago. I'm Brett Kirkpatrick, and I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt today, or called in Hawaii, it's an aloha shirt, to show really diversity that you can find in an employer, in a box company, in a packaging company out there. This is how most of us dress any given day at Bay Cities in Southern California, especially on Fridays. Let me tell you, when there's a meeting and you got 10, 12, 15 people wearing really nasty Hawaiian shirts, it's like a blinding type of event. But it's fun, and it's one way that just we look at it as we differentiate ourselves from the other guys. Not that there's anything wrong with a blue blazer and gray slacks, but anyway, I don't have any. My firm is one of over 60 corporations with hundreds of facilities that support this annual teleconference and the mission and other activities of ICPF, your host. As Richard indicated, today we will make career opportunities in the corrugated packaging and display industry more accessible to you through presentations that will make you more knowledgeable about the industry. Today you will hear about the business of corrugated packaging and display. Our industry panelists will address topics ranging from the markets that drive the business, to the critical personnel that are required within the industry, to the management of sustainable applications within the industry. With over 1,300 locations in the U.S. alone, virtually each of you, no matter in what state or province you reside, live within easy commuting distance of a potential corrugated packaging and display employer. We are live here at Michigan State, and today we have 17 colleges and universities, 19 departments or programs with over 500 students across North America participating. This year, many of the colleges and universities not only have packaging and graphic design students participating, but also have invited students and faculty from their institution's marketing, and sales, business, and supply chain programs. Today, we hope to further introduce these students to the respective career opportunities found in the corrugated packaging industry. Today, we welcome Appalachian State University. Welcome Professor John Kraft and your students. John, I understand you and your students are making good use of the ICPF CAD table and software. Harris Packaging in Fort Worth, Texas spoke highly of the Appalachian State student intern Jennifer Fox, who was placed with the company by ICPF this past summer. Ball State University. Welcome Professor Renee Church and your graphic communication students. It's good to have you back again this year. Bowling Green State University. This is the first year for Bowling Green visual communication students who recently have begun studying corrugated curricula. Bowling Green will integrate structural design utilizing an ICPF donated CAD table and audio software later this semester. Several students already have co-ops with ICPF partners Green Bay Packaging and Buckeye Boxes. Welcome Dr. Chopman, Professor Fugit, and the Falcons. Cal Poly State University, a perennial educational partner which with my firm works, and a recipient of a myriad of lab and other equipment from the ICPF. This year, both the packaging and graphic communications programs are joining us. This summer, my firm hired an ICPF referral who is a 2010 Cal Poly graduate of industrial design and packaging. She will begin her sales career after completing a rotational program within all the departments at Bay Cities. I know that Lindsay will be making a six-figure salary and well into the 200s in 3 to 5 years. See, I got real quiet. Everybody listens on that, huh? Some money talking. She's got the drive and the inertia to get out there and make it happen in sales, and we'll talk about that more today. Welcome Dr. Singh, Dr. Saha, and the Mustangs. Clemson University, home to the BOPS Corrugated Press and other equipment donated through ICPF. Welcome again to Professors Liam O'Hara and Bob Moore and their students from both the graphic communication and packaging departments. The two programs have been participating together in ICPF's teleconference for the past 4 or 5 years. This past year, numerous 2010 Clemson graduates were hired by ICPF partner firms like American Packaging and Liberty Diversified Industries through the ICPF network. Dunwoody College of Technology, another recent recipient of an ICPF CAD table and software. Welcome Professors Pete Rivard and your students. A Dunwoody student intern was placed by ICPF in Liberty Packaging this past year and will continue to work there through graduation. Indiana State University, ISU, is another perennial participant. Welcome Professor Marion Schaefer and your graphic communication students. Lewis Clark State College, welcome to Professor Brian Kolstad and your students from the beautiful state of Idaho for your second Careers in Corrugated Packaging teleconference. The graphic communications program recently incorporated a CAD table and Artio's designware into its curricula. For those of you who didn't know, the Lewis Clark campus is literally adjacent to the Washington state border, and the river boundary runs along the western edge of their campus. Beautiful there. Michigan State University, and let's hear it from Professor Bruce Hart, Sue Selke, Diana Tweedy, Dennis Young, and other faculty, and the Spartans here at Michigan State University. MSU is one of the country's largest and oldest packaging schools. Mohawk College, welcome Professor Sean McNaughton and your two student teams who have qualified to compete in the best of the best student design presentation competition today. This is the second year in a row that Mohawk teams have qualified for ICPF's annual Best of the Best competition. And in my 11 years of doing this, we had one student competition winner from MSU live in the studio audience. So it's kind of a challenge to you guys for next year, okay? Talk about that. Millersville University, welcome Professor Mark Snyder and his students. Millersville University only has been an ICPF educational partner for 2 years, and one of its student design teams qualified for the Best of the Best design competition in the university's first year of instruction on the CAD table and Artio software acquired through ICPF. The university program also has generated graduates in the past year who've been hired by a couple of ICPF partners corporations. Several were hired by Packaging Corporation of America alone. North Carolina A&T State University, another ICPF CAD table recipient. welcome Professor Dr. Cynthia Thompson and your students. Pennsylvania College of Technology, welcome again this year Professor Jim Lentz and your students. I've been hearing great reports on your use of the new ICPF corrugated lab you received about a year and a half ago. Rochester Institute of Technology, welcome Professor Thomas Cash and your students. It's great to have RIT for a second year in a row. Through ICPF, over 20 RIT packaging students have applied for internships in the New England area this year. University of Florida, welcome Professor Bruce Welt. We're pleased to have you back this year. We understand you and your students are making good use of the ICPF, of the CAD table the ICPF provided 4 years ago. University of Wisconsin Stout, a welcome to Packaging Program Director Michael Lorenzen and your students. UW Stout Packaging is a regular participant in ICPF's teleconference. Virginia Tech and State University, welcome Professor Robert Bush and your students. Virginia Tech was a recipient of an ICPF CAD table and RDO software a couple years ago, and recently both a compression and a shock tester. Most recently, packaging faculty member Ralph Rupert received an AICC scholarship for his doctoral study in packaging. We'll now go to our panel. Keep in mind that the PowerPoints utilized by the speakers will be available next week by emailing info@icpfbox.org. After the panel completes its presentation, we will then go to you, the college and university students out there, for your questions. I will ask that during the panel session, faculty collaborate with your students, develop a question and a backup question in case another school asks your first question ahead of you. Please write them down and be prepared. Be immediately ready with your question. We'll try to get to all the campuses, and if time permits, we can come back around and hit it again. Speakers, please keep your responses brief and to the point. With this group, that's kind of hard, but we'll do our best. After your questions, we'll hold our 10th Best of the Best Student Winners competition. The first and second place winners in the 2010 AICC Student Design Corrugated Design Competition will compete for top cash prizes today. I also tell you how to enter the 2011 Student Design Competition, so stay tuned. So why has the corrugated industry thrived for more than 100 years as other industries have slipped into oblivion? Corrugated is an agile, sustainable product. It does a whole lot more than simply protect and ship products. It offers tremendous creative capabilities in meeting customers' packaging and display needs while minimizing impact on the environment. A graphic example of this is the highly competitive retail market in which corrugated has excelled in grabbing consumer attention and selling product. Coca-Cola told the Wall Street Journal that consumers respond more to the package than they do the brand. And that's power, and that's corrugated in today's marketplace. Whether you're a packaging, graphic communications, business, supply chain, marketing, and sales student, you will know that careers in corrugated packaging and display are exciting, challenging, and rewarding. And it's not only corrugated packaging that positively, and it's only corrugated packaging that positively supports the environment. Our panelists will tell you more on that. First up is Doug Bosnick, President and CEO of Buckeye Corrugated Incorporated, BCI. The company owns and operates 6 manufacturing facilities in Ohio, Tennessee, New York, Pennsylvania, Arkansas, and Indiana. A packaging supply business, which is also in Pennsylvania, and a sales and design center in Wisconsin. Mr. Bosnick has spent 12 years in the paper and packaging industry. Prior to joining BCI in 2002 as their executive vice president, Doug was a member of BCI's board of directors. Prior to coming to BCI, Doug was the executive vice president and general manager at Western Enterprises. Doug earned his bachelor's degree from Westminster College in New Wilmington, Pennsylvania, and his executive MBA from Case Western Reserve, Cleveland, Ohio. Mr. Bosnick provided a general overview of the corrugated packaging and display business, including information on the structure and operations of the industry within the U.S., the current market and market directions for the industry, how corrugated is sold, and the related specific personnel needs, requirements, and structure within the industry. All right, let's turn it over to Doug.
Thanks, Brett. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be speaking to you here today. But before I get started, I'd like to do a little illustration on the structure of a corrugated packaging industry. I want to refer to Brett's Hawaiian shirt here to my left. I am wearing the standard issue blue blazer and gray slacks, which you'll find in 60% of industry meetings and people in the industry wearing it all the time. And to my far left, Pat is wearing the suit and tie, which is found in most integrated companies around our industry. Brett's company is a single operation entrepreneurial organization out in the West Coast. Ours is a multi-plant operation. We're both privately held. Pat's company, Georgia Pacific, is a private company, but it's an integrated company. And you can just see by representation how we morph into suits and ties. And you guys have that. Now I want to share this with you too. We don't wear these because, you know, we think they're the right stuff. Actually, we're pretty boring. We have no taste, and we just do it because it's simple. So, okay, let's talk about the size of the industry. The corrugated packaging industry is a $24 billion a year industry. It's very big. Billions mean big. Anytime you hear billions, think big. It once was 30 billion in North America. And the effect of that has been, okay, well, China has sucked out a lot of our manufacturing over the last several years, but one thing to keep in mind, what has happened to many industries over that time period where they've completely disappeared, ours has remained resilient and is currently resetting itself. I want to talk about just kind of why is it so big, why is it necessary, why is it here? Well, everything you get comes in a box. 90% of products shipped in North America come in a box. When's the last time you got something that didn't come in a box, except for your downloaded music and software? Even your iPod came in a box, your phones come in a box, they all do. They're delivered on trucks. That's another commonality between transportation and the corrugated industry. The industry shipped 357 billion square feet of material in 2010. I can't tell you how many truckloads of product that is because the math is just, you know, beyond me, and I'm not very good at math. So, the attributes of the products that we manufacture and sell: lightweight, cost-effective, recyclable, which Pat will talk about later, and they're very strong. Strength to weight ratio in corrugated is one of the better packaging materials out there. We have, well, I was told earlier, but 1,500 locations within an easy commute of 90% of the population. Well, that's something to kind of keep in mind. This is a local, even though it's a big industry, it's very broad, it's a local industry as well. It affects a lot of people on a very local basis. Why? You can't ship corrugated packaging very far because of its lightweight nature. Basically, you got a truck full of product going down the road, can't go very far because the transportation costs start to eat up the value that you would have in terms of your profitability in that product. The other reason it's local is the industry is built upon relationships between companies and manufacturers, marketers, producers. Those relationships are very strong because that's how we create value in the industry. They're necessary for problem solving, which is what packaging, we use packaging for. It's a vehicle to solve problems for customers. It's a vehicle to improve their brand image. It's a vehicle to help them sell more stuff. So those relationships have to happen on a local basis. Without them, it would be very difficult to move as fast as we do and react to the market changes that are taking place. Here's where it gets complicated. So if you're confused at the end of this slide, you're just like everybody else in the industry. I kind of gave you the representation of companies that are here today, but this slide kind of tells you all the different types of companies and how they exist within the corrugated industry. I'd like to start in the middle of that slide where it says independent versus integrated. It's not really versus, it's kind of just two different characterizations, but those are classes of companies, so to speak. Integrated companies are companies that own forests, paper mills, box plants with corrugators in them, sheet plants. They make every kind of corrugated product you can think of, paper product, tissue, paper towels, diapers, and a whole bunch of corrugated stuff. So integrated companies are usually very big, very well capitalized, and they are people like Georgia Pacific, International Paper, Rock 10, other PCA, Packaging Corporation of America, usually publicly traded, but in Pat's case, they're privately owned by Koch Industries. But they represent a big swath of the corrugated industry. Right with that is independent companies. They call them independent. They're really non-integrated because they're independent because were normally started by entrepreneurs. Some of them are family-owned, privately owned. Some of them are employee-owned. Brett's company and my company are employee-owned. There are other smaller companies within the industry that are family-owned, obviously started by an entrepreneur that grew the business and employs a fair amount of people. The private companies, as I suggested, that could also be integrated other than Pat are people like Liberty Diversified Industries, Green Bay Packaging, Great Northern. They are almost fully integrated in that they do have interest in paper mills, but they don't have forest properties that I think of, and probably don't have the breadth of products that someone like GP does. I have a representation I want you to picture in your mind, and this is kind of the existence of the corrugated industry, and this is one we use. We have this in our corporate office, and you guys have all seen, you know, what a great white shark is, and usually behind a great white shark is swimming a pilot fish. And what that pilot fish does is swim back by the dorsal fin, and when the shark goes through and eats everything in its path, all the scraps that come out the side, that pilot fish eats. Well, consider Brett's company and my company like pilot fish. We swim behind the shark, Pat's company, and they represent a big chunk of the industry, probably 80%. We swim behind the shark and eat the scraps. Our main objective is never get in front of the shark's mouth, because then you become the next dinner. So that's how the industry is structured in a certain way, and that entrepreneurs like our companies operate in a different kind of segment of the market that Pat's and other integrated companies do. But that's one we keep in mind in our company a lot, because we never want to get in front of the shark's mouth. That means you just don't go up and punch those guys in the nose, because they will eat you. Let me tell you a little bit about Buckeye Corrugated. There's a building. And when I first came into this industry, it was important to show buildings. Why, I don't know, but it's important. So that's our picture of our corporate office. Not really. It's very deceptive. The second office on the floor on the left is about 3,000 square feet. We have 5 people in that office. Think about that for a minute. Our corporate staff is 5 people, 3,000 square feet. The only thing that's good about that office, other than it's a nice building, is we get morning and afternoon sun, so through the window. So that's important to remember also. But I just point that out because operating structures are very different within the corrugated industry. You know, big companies, small companies, entrepreneurial startups, brokers, all kinds of things. It's a big industry and there are a lot of players in it. But just to give you an idea of different types of structures, next slide, here's a picture of a map. Not only do we have a building, we have a map. And our map represents our locations. The one that Brett left out because he had old information is Iowa. It's Cedar Falls, Iowa. It's Hawkeye Corrugated Box, which we purchased a little over a year ago. But we have a map. It shows how many people. We employ 402 people. We have 10 operations, 13 facilities in those 8 states you see up there. So it kind of gives you a different picture of our business. And when you think about that structure, I said we had 5 people in our corporate office, 402 employees. They exist at those facilities because our operating structure is very decentralized. All the decisions are made at the local business level because that is where the customers are. If they have to call me, we've got a big problem because I'm not next to the customer, they are. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to operations too. We are decentralized, as I said. We are employee-owned and we are an ESOP. The ESOP trust holds 100% of the stock of our company, and the employees are beneficial shareholders in that ESOP, which means when they retire, their shares are bought back by our company, similar to what Brett's company is, and they retire. That's part of their retirement income, and it's a very good way to engender participation and philosophical ownership in the company when you're spread out like we are, because it's the only way somebody can own stock in our company. Now, another thing about operating structures is, and this is something I'll talk about in just a minute on the next slide, we have no HR department and no IT department. You might ask why, and I'll tell you in a second. Here's a picture of one of our facilities in Wooster, Ohio. Up in the left-hand corner, it's Buckeye Container. It's one of our largest facilities. On the right-hand side are some of the things that we do for different customers we service, types of displays. 2 guys down in the left-hand corner, one's a designer, the other's a sales manager at that facility. And the guy in the white shirt is John McGurk. He runs that facility. The guy he's talking to is the press operator on that 4-color high core that's right behind them. What he's doing is telling him something, I'm sure, John, because he's a RIT guy, ex-hockey player. When John comes out to talk to you, everybody pays attention because his nickname was the Enforcer when he played hockey. What he's probably talking to him about is a run that they're running or how that system is working, because everything's controlled from that computer panel there. But the reason I point all these things out is we don't have HR and IT because those are John's responsibility. John's with the customers, he's with the people, and those are our two most important assets in this business. And so if he needs something, it's up to him to make sure that he is taking care of the people and the needs of that operation and ultimately serving the needs of his customers. Now, we do contract with support outside agencies, outside companies that actually support us in HR and IT. We have no internal departments that do that function for us. What it does is requires John to take ownership of all those responsibilities within his business. That's why he is a division president. And that's why everything that happens under that roof is his responsibility. We have structures like any structure you would find in any business like Pat's or Brett's or any other you would find in the industry. Management, sales, design, customer service, production, safety, quality, transportation. Our structure falls along those very same lines. There's a division president, a sales manager, a controller, a production manager, or a customer service manager, and design team at every location we have. So you can see that the structures, and while they may have different titles, they're pretty much the same. Let's talk about marketing a little bit. Markets. Where are the customers? Everybody wants to know. Well, there's a quick graphic for you. Food and beverage and paper-related products really drive 64% of the revenue and shipments in this industry. Manufacturing, about 10 to 12%, depending on what you include in that. The closely related to food and beverage and paper-related products, we look at also cosmetics and pharmaceuticals, which I'll get to in a minute. That manufacturing number has kind of been reduced over the last 10 to 15 years. It probably was closer to 20 back in the early or mid to late 90s. But obviously, the next bullet point tells you what's happened. A lot of manufacturing was moved offshore to China or different low-cost labor locations. Now, most people say, oh, that's not good because the industry, took a hit because of that. Well, you can tell we shrunk by $6 billion, but our sales have gone up the last 2 years. Most recently, value of shipments in the United States have increased greater than GDP, 3.4%. So the industry is retooling. And because of its breadth and size, there's a lot of critical mass there. It takes more than just a little bit of shifting or a decade's worth of shifting of manufacturing to take out an industry. And given that we have one of the most, I don't want to say it, functional products, shipping transportation products out there, it does have an effect on where you can create value in the business. We're resetting constantly. That's how we do things. Next slide, we're going to talk about, again, how do we adapt to changing markets? We scramble like crazy. That's what we do. We're entrepreneurs. Every business structure, doesn't matter if you're large or small, we have to adapt to changing markets. Even though capital structures are different. Huge capital investment in what Georgia Pacific does. Our capital is invested more on converting and people assets on our side of the business because that's about what we can afford to. Pat's business has a much greater investment in paper mills and corrugators, which are high dollar pieces of equipment. So we constantly have to adapt our operations to what's happening in the marketplace. So you look at what's happening in terms of where's the business coming from? Growing industries, growing companies in growing industry. Think about food products for a minute. Back when I was growing up, and that's a long time ago, even my daughters tell me I'm old every day, and we didn't have the type of prepared foods, the stuff, specialty foods, all the things that you see in grocery stores. What exists on your campuses didn't exist 25 years ago. Today, all that kind of food production needs packaging to get it to its point of sale to you or consumption by you. There's general food and there's specialty foods. Prepared foods are very big. We do a lot with prepared foods in our business, partially because the demand is there. Why is the demand there? Well, we all need to eat. We all want to look nice. We all want to be healthy, and we don't have a lot of time. So what happens in the industry is trends create opportunities. This is the result of globalization. And as these trends change, more happens at the consumer sector, backs into our supply chain, and we have to adapt to those ever-changing demands by you, the consumers, or people that you know, parents, everything, because lifestyles change. So what we have to do is look for those niches, those food opportunities, medical, pharmaceutical opportunities, all those things that exist either at the point of manufacture or at the point of distribution and retail distribution. That's where our products are put into play, and that's where people like you also have great opportunity to affect those applications in their end use. So, right now I'd like to take a minute to ask you to watch the film clip coming up on entry-level sales representatives. You guys roll the clip from back there?
I was a bit concerned that Corrugated may be a little too basic, and it's been anything but that.
It is a challenging industry. You've got to be on top of your game. It's also a fun industry.
Every day is a different day just because the projects change from customer to customer and then from project to project.
I'm a liaison basically between our facility here and our customers. I have to make sure both sides are happy.
People always need stuff, they need it fast, they're always behind deadlines, and it makes it exciting, and it's definitely fast-paced.
Sales representatives are responsible for developing and maintaining a base of packaging customers for their company. A successful salesperson has strong interpersonal skills, a solid knowledge about design and production sides of the business, and is focused on meeting customer needs.
I think to be successful in a sales position in Corrugated, you have to have the drive to work long hours. You have to be curious, I think. It's sort of like putting puzzles together, coming up with new ideas and design, looking for better ways to service customers.
Of course, from those hours, 8 to 5, you want to try to be out in the field and either cold calling or on appointments with new projects.
The sales staff is responsible for finding new business and managing current accounts. This also involves working with internal design and production people to ensure proper interpretation of customer needs and specifications. Salespeople must be able to communicate with customers regarding issues that might affect their packing line and follow through to ensure customer satisfaction. The ability to create successful proposals and effective sales presentations is equally important. Projections will be required so that accurate company-wide forecasts can be prepared. Finally, and most importantly, sales representatives are required to build and maintain strong customer relationships to ensure retention of their accounts.
The most challenging part of the job is being a problem solver, staying in tune with the customer's ever-changing needs, their demands, and the demands they put on their suppliers.
I think the skills that you would need in being packaging and sales would be just the drive, internal drive, self-motivation, be out there knocking on doors and continually working on a customer base and prospects and that kind of thing.
Once a project is in hand, the salesperson must also communicate regularly with design staff on package criteria, provide quantities to customer service representatives so materials can be ordered, and work with production personnel to ensure that customer specifications and expectations are met. While these job responsibilities may change a bit from company to company, the ability to communicate well with customers and internal staff is critical to success. In addition, effective organizational skills, a strong personal vision for customer service, and the ability to multitask are important.
We need new young talent in the industry. We need to continually grow and prosper in the industry, and we need new faces.
Corrugated companies often give college graduates with degrees in marketing, graphics, or packaging top consideration. Employers also look for candidates with prior selling experience. Most employers will also expect you to know basic computer software programs such as Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and be familiar with current presentation tools.
I think the best part about my job is just the variety. There's so many different industries that I can go and pursue business with, and there's so many different opportunities within those industries, and I don't ever get bored just because there's something new happening all the time.
Looking at everything from industrial problem solving to graphics problem solving, similar skill sets used and applied in different manners, but it really has really raised my level of professionalism in the last few years. It's challenged me, continues to challenge me every day.
Consistent sales leaders have a number of attributes that contribute to their success. These include strong oral and written communication skills, math skills, particularly pertaining to forecasting, excellent attention to detail in record keeping and oversight of projects, the ability to confidently lead internal and external meetings, the ability to work independently, strong negotiation skills, a high degree of self-motivation, the ability to meet tight deadlines and the stress that it brings, and excellent people skills to build and maintain strong customer relationships.
There's the opportunity for advancement. There's an opportunity to really get into just about anything you would like to do.
It happens. It happens for those who work hard and that prove themselves. And it's kind of motivation for me down the road that if I decide that at some point I'd like to get into management, there's definitely opportunities.
As you continue to develop and strengthen these skills, the opportunity for advancement in your career will increase, and advancement to upper-level sales positions or to management can be achieved.
I really, really am happy to be here. I love my job. I've been looking for a job like this for years, and I'm just thrilled to be here. Great people, great atmosphere. I love it.
Okay, we're back. How is corrugated sold? That's a good question. You heard Brett earlier, if you were in here at the beginning trying to sell a chair to you guys, nobody bought it because, well, basically you don't have any money, but that's okay. Really, it's understanding where the money is that starts with how corrugated is sold. Just to give you an idea about adapting to corrugated, adapting to market changes, how many people read the Wall Street Journal this morning? Raise your hand, impress your professors, come on. Anybody? Okay, there was an article in there on toothpaste this morning, and what it was a lot of the grocery stores are worried about the proliferating brands of toothpaste, and they've just instituted a change to reduce the number of SKUs on their shelves from 412 to 354, kind of like a reduction in footprint for different brands of toothpaste within these stores. Well, that was an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning. That is a problem that's going to be solved by a packaging company and by a market, the branding or the product managers at these different companies have to solve that, reduce those brands, try to get still maintain their image out there, but it instantly will cause a change in the packaging that they have, how they supply it, distribute to the customers, et cetera. That all ripples back through the supply chain. And that's where our opportunities come to sell corrugated. Those are the opportunities that designers have to create value for customers. When we talk about problem solving, we look at a couple of things I have up there: volume and value, identifying user, and analyzing problems. You heard the sales reps in the videos talk about problem solving, because that's what packaging does. It solves problems for the producers of different products, or the sellers, distributors, or promoters of different products. In our business, problems occur at different sizes, different levels, different places. The average order quantity in an integrated plant is 25,000, 50,000, 100,000 pieces and up. Somebody like Pat's operations. Brett's average order quantity, our average order quantity in any of our plants is 2,500 pieces. So there are a couple different value propositions in that problem-solving exercise. In order to solve Pat's problems, the volume that they have, they've got to produce low-cost stuff that runs on high-speed packaging equipment that has to work every time, and if that machine jams, believe me, everybody gets a phone call, okay? That's one of the things they do, but they also do things like we do as well. They just do it in greater proportion. We deal with more specialty type stuff, shorter runs, quicker turnaround time, stuff that won't go through their plants as efficiently as it'll go through our plants. When he sets up a production run, they turn a machine on, it runs for a long time. We set up a production run, turn it on, runs 5 minutes, we set up another production run. So the challenges within our manufacturing operations and our business operations are a little bit different company to company, but they're all designed around solving problems for customers, and that's where each of us looks at the type of volume we have to work with and what type of value we're creating for the customers wherever their problem exists. How do we identify users? That's a little tougher because they come in different ways. Usually they're existing customers, and a lot of times they're new customers, new entrepreneurial customers that come into the production stream. But if you think about it, how we approach the markets, everything in this country now is driven more by retail and consumerism than it is by production. It used to be a little bit different, but that retail sector now drives everything. If you start at retail and work back into the supply chain, the distribution stream, you'll find points of opportunity to solve problems within that production stream and the distribution stream that takes product to market. And that's where we exist, at all different phases of that supply chain. And sometimes we exist in a couple of places. We don't exist far down because our businesses are really designed to be closer to the customer. We employ a lot of designers. We're doing a lot of small stuff, creative stuff. That's what we do. And in one of Pat's divisions, they do the same thing. They do it on a larger scale, but similar types of things. So that's where the opportunities exist. That's where we have to be good at, or anybody coming into this industry would have to be good at finding out, figuring out, analyzing those problems. Okay, what does it take to be a corrugated sales professional? You have to have skin like this guy, because you hear no more than you hear yes, like 10 times more. It's hard, but it's also very rewarding. You heard Brett talk earlier about this young salesperson they hired, and they're within a few years could probably be a six-figure income producing type person. We have over 40 sales reps in our company. Half of them are six-figure income people. The top 10 are multiple six-figure income people. It's a very rewarding profession. If you choose to get in it, you have the skills and desire to do that, it can be very exciting, very rewarding. You'll earn every dime because customers will tell you no, it's not easy or everybody'd be doing it. But I can tell you that it can be very rewarding, very exciting, and can lead you to places you never thought you would be. And you will learn a lot because you'll be exposed to so many different businesses and industries. The other step that it takes to be a corrugated professional says, well, really, you have to be able to establish value, relationships, and trust. One of the reasons why that is important, I talked about that earlier, why businesses are local, we're closer to the customers, is because you have to have relationships. You can't afford to establish a relationship every time you have to go in and solve a problem. People won't tell you their problems until they trust you. And that's the only way you're going to be able to create value within the customer experience. In our company, it's not a formal study, but it usually takes 4 sales calls before we can get somebody to tell us what their real issues are within their business. Why? Because it takes that long to develop trust with that individual. And so when you're talking about that, you have to A, be credible, you have to have some skills, you have to know what you're doing, you have to be tough, thick-skinned like the alligator, and you have to be an opportunist. You have to see the opportunity when it comes and take it. That guy laid in that river all day to see that wildebeest walk by in front of him, and he got it. Now, there will be times when they won't, but if they're not ready, it won't happen. So there's that's why a lot of training goes into sales in this industry. It's very, very people-oriented, but you also have to have a skill set that understands design, production, solving business problems for customers through the use of packaging. Creativity, marketing, you have to have the whole ball of wax. So it's very important to understand that while it's great, you have to be able to build relationships, establish trust, and then employ all those wonderful skills you learned here at Michigan State and all the other schools out there to solve problems for customers. That's what sales is all about, and that's why those guys earn every dime, guys, men and women, when they sell. That's why they're paid so much, because it's about getting an order. It's about us having the ability. We can't do anything unless we can produce something. It means getting an order, getting them to trust you enough to give you the chance to do something for them. Personnel recruitment. Well, succession planning for management, business management, these are 2 areas where most businesses always have to look forward into the future and say, how do we do this? How do we get more people into our business? Guys like you, young people like you, men and women like you. Our operating structures usually dictate how you plan for succession in your business. Pat's company, Brett's company, my company, probably all do it a little bit differently, but usually it has something to do with what their core strength is. Our company is we're sales driven, and probably they are too. So you're going to find that they're very similar. But sales driven means that you saw the picture of John McGurk earlier, the guy that was a division president. every division president in our company has to have gone through the selling experience. And there's a reason for that. You cannot understand customer dynamics, market dynamics, have a good feel for what the market needs are, what's going on within the market, how to price, how much value you're creating, what that value is worth, unless you've had some experience in the sales arena. So in order to rise in companies like ours, selling is important. It doesn't mean operation people can't rise, because we've also had operations people as division presidents, but they have gone through the sales side one time or another. It's important, but don't let that distract you from thinking that salespeople are the only people that matter, because everybody behind them, the people on the plant floor, which I'll talk about in a minute, they are also critically important, because even if the guy can sell it, if you can't produce it cost effectively at a high quality, and when it hits your customer's dock that's perfect, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the customer, and it's also cost you a lot of money. Entry level, training, credibility, leadership. Let's talk about leadership real quick. Leadership's important in any business, but it's also important for you to understand that it's something you will face in your careers at some point or another. The ability to lead other people, to influence people, to get them to follow you, to get them to work with you to solve a problem. That's critical for every business today, and it's something that we struggle with as companies, how to build and grow leaders within our own businesses. So that's something that we are constantly working on, trying to foster, giving young people challenges in order to get them to grow more and face those challenges and deal with them, solve problems. And it can create tremendous opportunities for you. Business management, all across all levels of our business, we have, as I talked before about disciplines that are in our businesses, all the different skills you require: accounting, finance, quality, design, structural and graphic design, sales, customer service, toughest job in the industry. Because guess what? When you're a customer service person, nobody's calling you to say thank you or have a nice day. They're calling you because they have a problem, or they want to give you an order, or your order's late, or something like that. Those people earn a lot of money in our business, primarily because they're taking care of customers. But I can tell you that how titles evolve. One of our positions, the toughest position I just talked about, customer service. There's a person in our facility at Wooster, Ohio. Her name's Linda Sponsler. Her title is Director of First Impressions. We didn't give her that title. She gave herself that title. And she is the Director of First Impressions. When you walk into business, whether you're a supplier, somebody selling something, a customer, when I walk in, you are the most important person in her world. And she takes care of you like that. When you walk out, you just feel, boy, that was just a wonderful experience. Now I can tell you, and she's the only one we have with that title, and she's the best at what she does. It's part of her personality. It's part of who she is. She enjoys it, and she just really just wraps both her arms around what she does. But that is critical to our business, because guess who the first point of contact is when they call our business? Linda Sponsler. And she takes very good care of our customers. If I could have 10 of her, I'd do it tomorrow. It's just hard to find. It's rare. But there are opportunities within businesses for all kinds of people that can do things like that make customers feel like they're the most important people in the world. Another person, which is a little closer to home to maybe the business people and the designers in the group, the graphic and structural designers in the group, Kelly Toposky is a designer also at Buckeye Container, but we have her in a hybrid position. This is something we did about a year or two ago. She is both a designer and customer service rep, so she has the whole ball of wax when it comes to taking care of the customer. And it gives her a broader skill set which to do more things for our company later in her career. Now, it's a tough thing to do because designers typically sometimes don't want to talk to customers all the time because they're busy working on designs, but she is able to manage both and work with the salespeople that she has in her portfolio to be the kind of total point contact person for that customer. So in our industry, and I'm sure in every business in our industry, companies are experimenting with how to utilize the skills and talents of people like you sitting in the audience to improve their companies and enhance the customer experience for their customers. And if you can demonstrate those kind of skills, believe me, we'll take advantage of them. The one thing I did want to touch on briefly in this section is we talk about structural and graphic design. We have several people in our company who are trained in both arenas. And let me tell you something, in our industry, if you can do both, your value goes up dramatically. because it allows us speed, it allows somebody to grasp the total project before it has to be handed off. There's a lot of, I mean, if we could hire people that understood both and did both well, unfortunately, you guys are trained in one or the other, but exposure to both is very important, and if you can grasp them both, it's a valuable tool for any employer within this industry. Let me talk about the production floor real quick. Those are pictures of a couple of machines. The one on the right's EMBA Flexo folder gluer. The one on the left is a 4-color rotary die cutter, and behind it is a 7-color printing press. These are typical production floor machines in our facilities. And they are million-dollar machines, sometimes multi-million-dollar machines. Let me tell you how important the production floor is today. In all of our companies, the production floor is very important. For people who are in business that maybe want to think about this as a career, let me tell you something. Running those machines, that's a skill, and it's a very well-paid skill. And the reason why is they're all computer controlled. If you make a mistake on a production run that's maybe 20,000 pieces and it's got a lot of print and graphics on it, and you have to throw them all out, you just lost a lot of money. So those guys have to be very good at what they do. They have to have a tremendous skill set, so much so that I'm only allowed to walk around the plants. I'm not allowed to touch anything. If I touch something, somebody will grab me and run me out the door. And I'm the president. I don't know why that works that way. I don't understand. But it just goes to show you that the skills involved in doing these types of jobs are much different today than maybe they were even 10 years ago. What you have to understand, know your math skills, your ability to look at when you're doing printing and looking at a print run and see if that is within registration or not, and understanding that, those are skills. And they can be learned in this industry, and they are important for this industry, because that's what things are happening today in our business, Brett's and also Pat's business. So, are you looking for a job, or you're looking to make a difference? Most of you are probably saying, I'm looking for a job, or you want to have a job, because when you get out of school, you got to start making some money. And that's okay, because that's the way we all started. But I can tell you is, if you're looking to make a difference, it will change the way your career opportunities unfold for you. And the reason is this: if you're going to make a difference, you have to have passion for what you do. You have to improve your skill set, you have to have more drive and more commitment. And when that is demonstrated to employers like us, you will fulfill a lot more for yourself and people around you. You will make a difference for a lot of employers. You'll make a difference for your family, yourself. Most importantly, you make a difference for the customers that you serve. If you're a person of influence, you'll always find work. If you can create value for yourself and your employer, you will always have a career. And if you can do both, you will be fulfilled, both personally and professionally. I enjoyed talking to you today. We'd love to have you in our industry. Please come join us. It's an exciting place to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Great information and nice job. Thank you. All right. Our next speaker is Patrick Smorch. Mr. Smorch is the Director of Packaging Sustainability at Georgia Pacific's Innovation Institute. Georgia Pacific employs more than 40,000 people at approximately 300 locations in North America, South America, and Europe. Mr. Smorch has spent 5 years leading the Packaging Systems Optimization, PSO team, and driving packaging and supply chain savings for GP customers to the tune of over $200 million. Prior to Georgia Pacific, Pat worked in packaging research and development roles with a number of companies. He is a graduate of Michigan State University School of Packaging. Mr. Smorch will present an overview of managing the business of sustainable packaging from an integrated packaging supplier perspective. He will outline how packaging suppliers are identifying key sustainability drivers and what they're doing to help their customers develop sustainable packaging system solutions. His presentation will address the areas of fiber certification, recycling, corrugated design, and manufacturing techniques that meet sustainable packaging market demand. Pat?
Well, thank you, Brett. It's great to be here. It's great to be back in East Lansing. It's been a long time since I've been here, and it's nice to be back here. It's also very exciting to see all of the involvement here and the participation in this event. 500 students, that's a pretty big deal. So that's exciting as well. And just, I have to get one thing clear too, or off my chest, maybe one or the other. This is not a standard issue GP tie. In fact, they're a safety hazard within the plant, so you're not allowed to wear them. So we don't dress like this at our facilities either. So to talk about what I came here to talk about, I've been in the packaging industry for over 20 years now, and I've been through some consumer products companies. I've worked with a flexible plastics organization as well, and I've spent the last 7.5 years with Georgia Pacific in the corrugated packaging industry. And one of my primary responsibilities right now as the Director of Sustainability for the Packaging Division is really to oversee the sustainability initiatives for our business. And so I'm going to talk mostly about that part of it today. But I want to start out by telling you a little background, or a little bit of a background on GP. All integrateds are similar. They have similarities, but they're not all the same. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about how Georgia Pacific is set up. So we're an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Koch Industries Incorporated. We call it K2 or KII sometimes. So if I reference that, that's what I'm talking about. That makes us part of one of the world's largest privately held companies. And in total, with Koch and GP, we have over 70,000 employees, and we operate in 60 countries. K2 has been a family-owned business. It was started in 1940, founded by Fred Koch in Wichita, Kansas. Now it's led by Fred's son, Charles, who's K2's current CEO and shareholder. So I see a lot of people say we don't have shareholders, but we have one. We were purchased by Koch Industries in December of 2005, which makes us unique as an integrated because we're the third largest corrugated manufacturer in the U.S. We're privately owned, and we're an integrated supplier. So we have 5 paper mills where we make our own containerboard materials, and we have about 40 different types of packaging plants. I want to explain a little bit about kind of how we're organized, because we are more than just a packaging company, Georgia Pacific that is. We're divided into 3 primary businesses, and probably the first one is the most recognized, which is our consumer products business, where we have one of the largest global consumer products companies. And you may recognize some of the brands that are pictured there, like the Dixie plates, Brawny, maybe Angel Soft. So they primarily manufacture plates. They're also in the cup business as well, but towel and tissue. And they operate in North America, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. We also have a building products division. You might recognize those products from either Home Depot, Lowe's, one of those types of stores, or when you're driving down the road and you see a building under construction, and on the side of the building you see the little GP tree logo before it's completed. That's our building products division. But the division that I'm here to talk to you about is packaging, and that's the group that I work for. And in that group, we manufacture container boards, so we're doing medium and liners. We also do brown boxes, typical corrugated boxes. And then we have a division called Color Box that does high graphic, litholam, microflute corrugated packaging. And then we also produce and sell the individual materials or the combined sheets out to the open market. These are some of our customers here that we have joining us today. And then we are also involved in what we call RPCs, or reusable plastic containers. So we don't manufacture those. What we do is we purchase the RPC, and then we'll lease it out to the market. And then we have a closed loop system where we will pick that up at the end of life, take it into a washing facility, and then release that RPC. So that makes us a bit unique as a primarily a fiber-based company. We're one of the only corrugated manufacturers that offers plastic as well. Another very unique thing about GP, when it comes to sustainability, because of the different divisions and the way that we all interact together, it puts us in a little different situation as it relates to the organization around sustainability. So we have a corporate sustainability office that's run by a chief sustainability officer, and their responsibility really is to tie in all the businesses and all the sustainability activity across those businesses so that we're not tripping over one another or we're not being redundant in our efforts. So our chief sustainability officer has a full staff that does a lot of the common kinds of activities, right, that are in each one of the businesses. And then above and beyond that, we have a sustainability council. The council is comprised of members of each one of the division, and where each division will have their own team of folks that are focused on sustainability in particular. And then there's some shared resources. There's some things that we all do in common and those resources will support all of the different divisions. There's a sustainability business leader for each division. So, for example, I'm the sustainability leader for the packaging division. We hold monthly meetings, and we talk about whatever's driving our business. And the unique situation that puts us in is our consumer products company is one of our largest customers. So on a monthly basis, we kind of roll up the sleeves and have this dialogue around sustainability activity within the businesses, and we can do it as a sister company and a customer as well. So these common resources that we have, or the shared resources, those are areas like our environmental forest stewardship team. They're looking at fiber and forest certification. That's something that affects all of our businesses, some of them in similar ways, some of them in different ways, but that way we can combine the efforts. We also have a life cycle assessment science team who does all of the kind of the legwork on any LCA activity that we might have, and therefore we really get the most bang for our buck in any life cycle assessment that we do, because our businesses are similar enough that there's usually, I haven't seen an LCA yet that was done with one business where the other businesses can't benefit from as well. And then probably the most obvious is transportation. So let's talk a little more specifically about sustainable packaging and why is that important? Why is everybody talking about it today? I know I have conversations on a daily basis about what does this mean? What does it mean to different companies? What does it mean to the retailers? And what does it mean to the consumer? And I get different definitions about every time. So there's apparently substantial confusion out there around what that means. Well, why people are talking about it, I think if we look back in the recent past, in 2005, Walmart announced they were going to be the most sustainable retailer in the world is their goal. And they started with packaging. So they set a packaging goal to reduce the amount of packaging materials used within their supply chain by 5% by the year 2013. In 2006, they followed that up with the packaging scorecard. That scorecard was really intended to measure environmental impacts of the packaging materials that were used in their products. And it was created to allow the buyers at Walmart to be able to differentiate products from one another and use that as part of their decision in which products they were going to carry. So it weighted in a biased fashion, according to their priorities, one package versus another, and therefore allowed the buyers to use that in their decision-making process. Additional pressure came on around that time with the CDP, or the Carbon Disclosure Project. And this is really the first time that companies in general, packaging companies, were asked to disclose environmental impacts and data to the open market. For a privately held company, that's kind of a big deal for us. It isn't something that just happened automatically. And so since that time, we've seen a lot of pressure or a lot of change in the consumer products world, where they started measuring environmental impacts. Some are setting goals. Some are creating their own scorecards because they either have different priorities than the Walmart scorecard, or they wanted something more specific to their products or their business. Many of them are creating package supplier questionnaires. I know those because every one of those comes across my desk. And what they're looking for is a formal response to a series of questions regarding data and regarding environmental impacts of the products that you manufacture. And really what they're doing is asking packaging supplier to establish a baseline for them to be able to measure against in the future. So some of the trends that we see that have come out of all of this are companies measuring specific things like greenhouse gas emissions, energy use. Those are usually on the top of the list. Excuse me. They're also trying to meet the Walmart goal of reducing the amount of packaging that they use, so they need a baseline to establish that as well. There's certainly a greater focus on recycling. The recycling one is interesting to me because it was just, I have a 7-year-old at home, and it's amazing how many people are talking about recycling, because even as the director of sustainability for the packaging division at GP, I come home and get educated every single day by my 7-year-old and what he's learned at school about recycling. Purchasing corrugated that comes from certified lands is becoming a higher priority, And some folks are out there looking for more sustainable or alternate packaging materials. Biopolymers comes to mind when I talk about that one. Coming out of the flexible plastics industry, I never heard the term biopolymer until, probably 3 years ago. There are even talks about future goals of actually putting labels on products at the retail level, where the idea is that you would have something on the front of the package that would allow the consumer then to be able to compare the sustainability of that product or the package that product is packaged in. So it kind of gives the consumer the same type of opportunity or benefit as the Walmart scorecard does for the Walmart buyer. At the same time all of this is going on, consumers are being bombarded with messaging. Consumers are seeing things like this, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. If you've never heard of this, it's pretty, I think it's a big deal. If you have, bear with me because I won't talk about it for too long. But it's a giant accumulation of trash floating around the Pacific Ocean between the West Coast and Hawaii. They say that it's twice the size of the state of Texas. 1/5 of this trash comes from ship dumping, which means all the rest of it comes from litter. They say that it's about 90% comprised of non-biodegradable plastic packaging. And the total weight of this is estimated to be about 3.5 million tons of waste swirling around out in this big Pacific vortex near Hawaii. I've never seen it, but with it being that big, I've been told that you can see it from a plane when you fly over. And it certainly gives a bad reputation to packaging. And when consumers hear that type of messaging, they only think about the negative impacts of packaging. They forget about all the good things that packaging does and the benefits of packaging. And it's certainly creating a sense of urgency for consumers to think about how do we fix this problem. Certainly identifies the problem for them to feel the sense of urgency to have to go and fix. So because of all this buzz around packaging and sustainability and the sense of urgency, packaging suppliers are being asked to get involved and to help out. They're being asked to help customers establish a baseline of environmental impact so that they can set goals and measure improvements, create a positive impact on society, help their customers set those goals or establish those goals, and then keep in mind all of this has to come at no additional cost, because all of the customers that we're selling materials to get their product to market have to get it there as inexpensively as possible. So GP does this through a program that we call PSO. Brett mentioned it earlier, or Packaging Systems Optimization. And this is a dedicated group of engineers that we have that work with our customers. They collaborate closely with the customers to identify what their needs are, whether it's removing cost out of the supply chain or maybe meeting a specific environmental goal. They'll do a supply chain audit, develop alternate packaging system solutions, and all of this with a focus on driving waste out of the supply chain. If you think about it, if they can successfully drive waste out of the supply chain, they're certainly going to lower the environmental impact, and at the same time, they'll typically lower the overall cost as well. And believe me, our customers kind of like both of those. So let's touch on some of the key sustainability drivers in the corrugated industry, like forest or fiber certification. As I mentioned before, providing materials supplied by certified sources is really becoming mandatory for companies like ourselves. And there's many different forest certification programs. You may have heard of some of them, the Sustainable Forestry Initiative or the Forest Stewardship Council. And there's many others as well. I'm not here to talk about the differences between those or a preference for one over another. The point is that all of these serve a purpose, and even though the rules for each one of them might be a little bit different, there's a lot of commonalities at the core of all of these certification programs. They're primarily about protecting endangered forests, replenishing natural resources, protecting wildlife, especially endangered species. And if you think about it, it all boils down to responsible forest management. And that really is the core of the idea behind all of these forest certification programs. Some companies go a little bit further into chain of custody kind of certification, which tracks the fiber all the way back to the land that it came from. And it's kind of an accounting system so that you can account for all of the fiber that goes through your manufacturing process. I think the thing about forest certification is that it's very demanding for the resources out there in sustainability because it's changing and it's influenced by things like the Federal Trade Commission and other parties out there that have opinions or different interpretation of each one of the guidelines. So another important sustainability driver that I mentioned earlier is recycling. Just ask my son. According to the American Forest and Paper Association, or the AF&PA, paper and paperboard packaging make up over 75% of all of the packaging materials that are recovered for recycling. And many of the integrated companies like ours have their own recycling component to the organization. We have a company called GP Harmon, and what they do is they pick up materials at the end of life, get them back to the market, sell it into companies that then use that for manufacturing of corrugated materials. Last year alone, GP Harmon traded over 7 million tons of recycled fiber. So the corrugated industry set a goal through the FBA to try to collect 60% of the corrugated packaging manufactured in the US. The last report that I had heard, we're up over 82% as of today. And then some of the driver behind that as well is the retailers. And some of the retailers have taken a very strong stance on recovery and are claiming to have recovered over 95% of the corrugated that goes through their system. So at the same time, they're coming up with or developing very creative ways to backhaul other products as well, or other materials like plastics and metal at the same time as they continue to grow their OCC recovery. As far as the use of recycled material in corrugated packaging, this is a pretty controversial and common topic that I end up talking to folks about. And we believe at GP that both certified virgin and recycled material, or OCC, are both sustainable material choices for the manufacturing of corrugated packaging. The average corrugated container manufactured in the US contains about 43% recycled fiber content, and 60% of the OCC collected in the US is reused in the corrugated manufacturing process. As far as innovation is concerned, there are many new technologies being applied at the manufacturing level to help people meet the Walmart goal or meet their own goals of reducing the amount of packaging material that they use. We know for a fact that in Europe, they generally use about 10% less material than we use here in the US. And there are some key drivers for that, one of them being supply chain requirements, another one being technologies, and they just have a different requirement or demand on their packaging in Europe. But as technologies are being tested here in the US and in North America, we are trying to identify ways to reduce the amount of packaging that's used in the corrugated industry. And as that technology advances, I think you'll see some of those overall board combination weights come down. Through design optimization, the amount of fiber in an average box has decreased by 19% since 1994. So it means we're doing something right in the design portion of the process, right? We're getting better at understanding how the paper works, how it works in combination, and then coming up with better designs and better design tools. One significant transition that's contributed to that is the move from Mullen grade to ECT grade board combinations, where you're using the stacking strength becomes the #1 performance criteria for a product that requires stacking strength. When we do that, that leads us to the ability to create performance-based specifications as opposed to weight-based specifications. And we can measure the supply chain requirements very specifically, and then our designers can design to meet those needs and not exceed those unnecessarily. And then we're speccing to a performance as opposed to a basis weight. So when I first took on the role as the Director of Sustainability in Packaging, one of the most common questions that I received was, is this thing for real? Is sustainability here to stay, or is it a fad? Is another one of these fads that we hear about from the retailers? I've explained the size of our organization at GP that's focused on sustainability, and that group continues to grow. We don't seem to have less activity around sustainability, and there are new roles being created all across the supply chain, at the retailer level, at the consumer products manufacturing level. Our competitors are doing it as well. There continues to be an increase on the demand for those resources, and Georgia Pacific is making a pretty significant bet that it's here to stay, and we're committed to providing or helping our customers develop sustainable packaging solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, great job, Pat. Great information. Thank you very much. Let's dive quickly into the Q&A portion of our program, as we've got limited time on the link up here. Let's go, when we call it your school name for the remote sites, just unmute your mic and ask your question, and then when we're done with you at that site, please put it back on mute, and then we'll move to the next site. Otherwise, it creates a kind of a logistics problem for us. Let's go straight to Appalachian State University. Do you have a question for our panel today?
How many new people, like college students, are hired every year, and what tends to be the starting salary, like into the industry?
Go ahead.
Well, it depends on the area, actually, that you start. So the starting salary on a production floor, for example, is going to be different than it will be at a designer, than it will be working in a technical capacity at a tech center or in sales, for that matter. So,
region of the country also has something to play, but you can talk about designers with relatively no experience starting somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 in Ohio, for example. That's one. Production floor people, if you're a supervisor, a training supervisor, you could be, in that same ballpark, $35,000 to $45,000. It really depends, but on the West Coast it may be different. I don't know. So
you got to add about 10 grand to that number.
yeah. So it depends on where you are.
Okay, thank you for that question. Let's go to Ball State University.
Yeah, I just want to know what the quantity, the percentage of jobs are hired in the industry for designers as opposed to other job specifications, be it technical, press operator, and the like.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the question.
What was the middle part? What part? What
really, what percentage of the jobs are
hired
available?
As designers.
Designers.
Hired as designers compared to other jobs. Like what percentage of the industry hires designers instead of sales reps or press operators and such?
Richard, do you have numbers on that?
I would say that what we're hearing is that that's kind of a trick question from the standpoint of the turnover in structural designers. A lot of the structural designers can go on into sales, they can go into management, so that's a difficult question. But for example, we have one facility in New England. It's a small facility. They have 7 structural designers for that one facility. So it can vary from location to location, and so you multiply that when you go to Doug's facilities. He may have multiple at one location and just one at another. So it can vary from facility to facility.
We have 21 designers. We hired 4 last year, new people to add to that. So that gives you.
Great, thank you. All right, let's move along to Bowling Green State University. Bowling Green?
Yeah, my question's for Doug. And it's, since your company features custom packaging solutions, what percentage of the packaging industry is custom packaging? And do you see this segment growing or stable for the near future?
Okay, good question. You read the website, I think. Did you say, you didn't say tissue, custom packaging? Virtually everything, probably 90% of we do is all custom designed because it's new designs for, we have repeat orders, but it's all custom for us. The industry in general, I mean, every new order is a custom designed order because it has to meet certain specifications for what the application is. redesigns also are considered new designed orders because you're redesigning an old package. So I would say it's a very high percentage.
Same with us. 100% of what we make is custom packaging for every order. We're running about 100 orders a day. So there's a lot of customized products going through. All right, let's go to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo.
All right, this question's for Doug and Patrick. Since corrugated is such a versatile material with lots of design possibilities, here at Cal Poly we designed a bliss box that uses 20% less material and is 15% stronger in compression strength. What does it take to get an idea like this adapted in industry?
Well, that's a perfect example of something that we would probably get the industry to adopt through, or our customers to adopt through our PSO program, right? When customers are asking us to help them identify ways to take waste out of the supply chain or reduce the amount of packaging materials or lower cost, that's a perfect example that you've just described, and that sounds like a typical offering that would come out of that PSO opportunity.
I agree. Customers drive everything. That's the place where it's going to get introduced or accepted. So if it's a cost driver, like with less packaging or image enhancer or something like that, or it solves another problem for them, it will get, I think the place to establish that is at the customer base, because they're the ones that are going to reap the first benefit.
Great. Thank you for that question, Cal Poly. Clemson, graphic communications and packaging. Clemson?
Hi, yes. So related to sustainability, are any steps being taken to increase the infrastructure for corrugated recycling, so to make it more accessible industry-wide and for consumers as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, you can see that in our the recent history of going from somewhere around the 55% collection rate to up over 82% over the last handful of years. So as an industry, we've set goals. We've actually surpassed those goals, and we're continuing to see pretty innovative ways for people to increase those numbers. One is the number that I talked about from the retailers, where they're getting pretty aggressive. And they see the opportunity in recycling the materials as well and getting up over 95%. So we're continuing to see creative, innovative ways to collect more material and make it available for recycling.
Thank you, Clemson. Let's move on to Dunwoody. Dunwoody College of Technology. Are you with us?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and your question?
Yes, we are. Yes.
All right, let her rip.
Okay, my question is the correlated industry resistant to offshoring and outsourcing?
Yeah, Doug, you want to?
I wouldn't say resistant, but as I explained in my talk, we have adapted to the different, where it was driven by manufacturing before, it's driven more by retail pull now. And so while it's not totally resistance to offshoring, we adapt to where the economy is driving packaging decisions, and that's at the consumer end at this stage. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, a lot more was being done at the manufacturing and production stage. So it does have some barriers, and also the lightweightedness of and shipping costs also provide a barrier to offshoring, but it's not totally resistant to it, no.
A quick little story to answer your question. We have a client that imports T-shirts into Walmart, and those come through the Port of Los Angeles. So we'll bring in 70 containers of T-shirts from Vietnam. We'll pack those into a corrugated display 48 by 40 pallet configuration and shoot them out to 3,700 Walmarts in a matter of like a week and a half. So if we can't, the product's being made outside of the U.S., but we're still involved in the design and manufacturing of the corrugated, kind of meeting them in that spot. So that's a growing part of our business. All right, let's go on to Indiana State University.
Fancy room.
It's like your office.
Can you hear us?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, both of our questions were actually answered about job opportunities. But we would like to say thank you for our CAD table. We love working with it, and yeah, yes, thank you.
All right.
Never hurts to say thank you.
That's good. Thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. Michigan State, our host school, is going to get 2 questions out of today's first round. So let's go ahead as a first question. Anybody got that? Yes.
What is the shortest volume for a small job for you guys? Like you guys do 100
Question
jobs.
was, what's the shortest volume for a small job for us? For us, we don't have a minimum. We'll make 1 box. 1. That's our minimum.
How do you do that with all the
On his
scores
cutting
and
table.
everything?
Well, it depends on the piece, but I mean, if we have to make it in production, we do. We have a customer that makes $50,000 medical instruments, so they'll order 5 boxes. They don't mind spending $100 a piece on them because a $50,000 medical instrument that's going inside. So it's just depends on what the client is.
He loves that. In our 7 facilities, order quantity ranges from 600 piece order quantity to 2,500 pieces on average. So that gives you an idea.
And in our primary business, we like 25,000.
Yeah, he wants too much.
But not true in all the businesses, though. I mean, like in Colorbox, for example, you know, we
They do
get
a lot
into this
shorter runs.
same kind of small run. So it depends on a lot of different factors.
Okay, and do we have a second question from? Yes.
You stated earlier that someone in sales could be averaging over 6 figures after being in the industry several years. Do you provide an entry-level salesperson with training to help them reach that success?
Yeah, Doug. Go
Oh,
ahead.
all right, I'll go. Yes, we do. Yeah, we usually start our salespeople out entry level if they have some experience, and some experiences doesn't have to be industry related, but they have some. They've started in somewhere between $40,000-$60,000. They usually get a car. They get an expense account, which is monitored, so they have a car allowance and expense account. But the idea before they start doing that is they're in training in our business probably for anywhere from 6 months to a year, learning all the facets of our business before they're put out on the street to go knock on doors. So that gives you an idea.
So after you graduate, you're not done learning.
Yeah,
right?
you're always learning.
You got more school.
Good question.
Okay, let's go to Millersville University and Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. Millersville?
Our question is for speaker number 1. You mentioned that to keep up with the corrugated industry and compete against China, that we are retooling. How specifically are we retooling in the corrugated industry?
Well, as Brett just described, and I talked a little bit about in our talk, where we used to focus a lot more on manufacturing and the industries associated with manufacturing in terms of packaging demand, we have moved further to the end of the product stream where it hits the retail market. For example, when I first became involved with Buckeye Corrugated in 1999, I was laughed at when I talked about the food and beverage industry. Well, now that's one of our biggest, market segments. So we've moved along with the economy to consumer-driven economy and look for our opportunities there. So when I say retooling, what we're doing is adapting our businesses to meet the customer and solve the problems at that point in the product stream, as opposed to back where it was more heavily demanded in the manufacturing and industrial segments of the market. So that was my comment about retooling.
Thanks, Doug. All right, thank you, Millersville. Let's go to Mohawk College up north.
Yeah.
Hi. First
Hi.
of all, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity and for all that you've done for our school. And our question is, which do you feel is more sustainable, biodegradable or recyclable?
Well, good question. It depends, and I'm sorry I keep saying that, but it really does. And I think one of the points that I tried to make in my discussion was the fact that people have different, companies have different goals, and they have, and so with those different goals, they're going to evaluate those things or measure them differently or rank them differently according to other environmental impacts. So, the Walmart scorecard as an example, they've kind of established that these are the things that are important to us. These are the way that we're going to rank environmental impacts. The customers that we sell boxes to today don't all agree with those priorities. So as companies develop their priorities, they may take a different position on one of those versus the other. And a lot of that comes from consumer push or consumer guidance in what I'm seeing in the marketplace, because a company may have a a perception issue in the marketplace because of one of those factors. And so that might be their number one priority. And so they may rank one of those higher than the other.
Thank you, Pat and Mohawk, for that. All right, let's go right to North Carolina A&T. You have a question, North Carolina? North Carolina, come in. All right, let's go on to Pennsylvania College of Technology. Pennsylvania?
Can you hear us? It's still on mute now, guys. They can't hear us.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Hello. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Where do you predict the corrugated industry will be in 15 to 20 years, and do you think it'll grow or fall?
Let's see, Doug, how about you on that one there?
As far as predicting where it will be in 15 or 20 years, I'm not a wizard. I can't predict that. I do think it will grow, primarily because packaging is we're starting to just experience all the different applications for packaging, especially as other industries evolve, newer industries evolve, and consumer tastes change. So I think that will continue to drive the growth of the packaging industry. Where it will be in 15 or 20 years, that's a tough one. So I think I'll pass on that one.
I wish I knew.
All right, thank you for that question and answer. Let's go back North Carolina. I think they're online with us now. North Carolina, come in. Give you a second shot here. Unmute.
Can you hear us?
There you go.
Yeah, we got you.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. North Carolina A&T is a small school and cannot compete with Clemson or Appalachian State. However, we have promising students. How can we get companies in corrugated packaging to not overlook us, but give us the opportunity to be considered for employment?
Richard.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
a
one's
Richard.
calling you.
We encourage you to go to our website. That's the first step that you need to take. Go to www.careersincorrugated.org. And on that website, there are job opportunities. And we also have a LinkedIn network. And I encourage individuals to email us at info@icpfbox.org. And we will put you in that LinkedIn network and alert you to the jobs as they are being posted. So if you're in that network, you will have equal consideration, and certainly you can also email me, and I can make sure that the companies are aware of your application.
Great, thank you. That was a good question. All right, let's go to Rochester Institute of Technology. RIT, come in.
My question's for Doug. You stated that the corrugated industry is resetting itself. Could you give an example of this?
I did say that? Okay. I talked about resetting, retooling. I use those kind of descriptors for our business, but let me talk about ours, for example. When I entered the industry, we were, I would say, 60-70% manufacturing, industrial-related packaging. Today, that's probably 30 to 40% of our business, and so much more of it is on the retail side. So that's what I'm saying about resetting. You have to adapt to what the market can give you or where your opportunities are. And if we'd have stayed, one of our plants was almost 70% automotive, and during the automotive downturn, it hurt them badly. Now, today, they're less than 30% automotive, and they are much more involved in retail displays, higher graphic packaging, those sorts of things where they can create more value for customers. So broadly in the industry is doing the same thing and looking at ways like sustainability or other things to make themselves more valuable and provide more value for the customer in the applications that the customer has. So we're just adapting with the economy and with the customer base.
And the word value added in most cases equals more profitability for the business as well. All right, let's go to University of Florida. Come in, Florida.
Hello. We hear a lot about the growth of corrugated business in Asia. Is there a possibility of expansion of the industry in Central and South America?
That's a good pat.
That's a GP question.
Well, we're certainly seeing expansion in South America. Our business in particular is growing in that direction. I think that and primarily we're seeing some new capacity coming on in those regions. We're a national-based company, so we're only here in the United States, but we are seeing more customer activity down in the South America region.
Good answer. All right, let's go to University of Wisconsin Stout. Wisconsin, come in. Still happy about the
Hello.
Packers there.
Yeah, go Pack. All right. All right, my question is in regards to biohybrid packaging technology. I want to know if the corrugated companies are investing in this technology, and where do you see the growth?
What is the technology?
What's the technology?
Biohybrid? I think that's what
Yes, biohybrid. It's with the pulp, and it's combining with some type of plastic. It's right now mostly in Australia.
I'll be honest with you. That's the first that I've ever heard of it, so I'm embarrassed to say that, but certainly something that I'll look into. It's not something that I've seen any experimentation with here in the U.S. or in North America.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, great question.
All right, let's go to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, come in.
Oh, I have to.
Virginia Tech, I see you.
Talking.
Unmute and then. Still no.
Bugs Bunny.
There you go.
There you go.
Right there. I think you pressed it one too many times.
One
yeah,
more.
we lost you again. Maybe it's a bad connection on the back or something.
Wait.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. Is it working?
There we
working.
go. We've
Yes.
ironed out the technical difficulties.
Alrighty, good deal.
Here we are. All right, our question is, to what extent are the users of corrugated products and your customers requesting or even requiring more sustainable products?
We're getting, again, I think that goes back to the questionnaires that we're getting from our customers. We're seeing, for example, 3 years ago, we probably had one questionnaire asking us about the sustainability of the materials that we manufacture. This year, so far, year to date, I think we've had to formally respond to 39 questionnaires. So to give you kind of an order of magnitude of the activity and around sustainable packaging. And we're getting direct requirements in specifications around certain environmental impacts as well, and we're seeing it show up in specifications.
Great. Thank you to all participating schools out there for your questions today. And we're going to look into the biohybrid
Technology.
Yeah.
It's Liz Clark State.
Check that out. All right. By the way, remember, if you're interested in a job in our industry, go to the ICPF website, www.careersincorrugated.org. There is a job and career bank there in which companies from the corrugated industry, packaging industry, post jobs and internships. You can also post your resume there as well. And now it's time for our student battle for the top cash prize of $1,500 US, not loonies for the Canucks. It's a battle between two teams from Mohawk College in Canada. And now they'll do battle in this ICPF's 10th annual Best of the Best Student Winners Competition among the first and second place winners in the Design to an Opportunity category within the AICC Student Design Competition. We've asked these students to show, tell, and sell their entry as they might a prospective client.
Not this way.
They only have 5 minutes, and our judges will select the first and second place winners. They will be judged on content and on presentation skills, and both teams will receive cash prizes today. The Design to an Opportunity student winners were asked to design a structure that accomplishes a given task while accounting for converting challenges. For this competition was a real-life company needed a POP retail display for perfume. You should know that the top student winners that were competing today won an all-expense paid trip to the AICC National Convention in Baltimore this past October. And second place was 2 weeks in Baltimore. No, I'm just kidding. Steve, actually, Baltimore was a great event. So let's go where they were assembled on stage, actually, for national recognition. Let's go first to Mohawk College, Team 1 here from Morgan Deek, Jeff Rogers, Michelle O'Connell explain why we should buy their design, La La City. Team 1, are you there?
Yep.
We're here.
Okay.
Okay, good afternoon. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for having us. On behalf of Mohawk College, I would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Jeff Rogers, and these are my colleagues, Michelle O'Connell and Morgan Deek. Today we will be speaking to you regarding our winning entry into the 2010 ICPF Student Design to an Opportunity Competition. Our presentation will outline the following: the point of purchase appeal and impact, the ease of the real-world applications, the levels of product protection and efficiency, the environmental considerations taken, and finally the graphics that were chosen for the design. Now first, Morgan will be speaking about the point of purchase appeal and impact.
Thank you, Jeff. The first design aspect considered was size. So the dimensions of the assembled POP are 12 inches wide by 12 inches deep by 12 1/4 inches high. These dimensions were chosen so as to display the product in a way that was powerful yet modest in shape and size. Secondly, rather than design the POP first and then fit the product to it, we designed the POP around the unique triangular shape of the product carton. We did so by arranging the product in the form of a city. In doing so, we created harmony between the product and the POP by positioning them as one cohesive unit. The third aspect of the POP appeal and impact is the material used. For this, we used E-flute corrugated board. We used E-flute for its narrow profile and for its high-quality graphic service.
Okay, thanks, Morgan. Next, Michelle will discuss the real-world application, product protection, and the environmental considerations that were taken.
Thank you, Jeff. So there's little that needs to be done to ready the POP display. The products are shipped in their display position, eliminating complicated instructions, excessive handling, and the possibility of damage incurred during the shipping process. So in order to ready the display for sale, the POP will be received to the retail environment in a shipper with the graphics panel over top of the base. The graphics panel will then be inserted into the slot at the back of the base, placed on a counter, and it's now ready for sale. So this design was chosen to eliminate assembly confusion and maximize product protection. The insert, which displays the product, acts as a way of securing the fragrances during shipping, and also means the products will not touch or rub up against one another. So cosmetic counters are swimming with high-end products that reflect their high price and class. And in order for a POP to compete in an environment like this, it must have an equally striking and well-crafted construction. This was achieved by using the right amount of material in a configuration that would highlight the product. And in addition to this, no adhesive is used in the construction of the point of purchase display, and all inks that are used are recyclable. And finally, corrugated board, which is 100% recyclable, and we probably all know, is therefore the most environmentally friendly and sustainable material choice for this.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. As you can see, sustainability was one of the primary objectives of the design process. The success of any design can also be seen in the graphics. Now, Morgan will take you through the graphical components of the design.
Thank you. In an attempt to create a relationship between the product and the POP, we created a cityscape. In the cityscape, the product represents the buildings in the foreground, and the POP represents the environment in which they exist. Simple colors and graphics were used to adhere to the POP theme. These graphics are also easily changed to accommodate different product lines, such as a variation in scent. The city is presented as if at dusk or dawn, when the sky creates a colorful umbrella over the building and people below. Dusk is a time when the city transforms and work turns to play, and dawn is the anticipation of a new day.
Okay, thanks, Morgan. Today we had the pleasure of showing you a POP display that maximizes the critical components set forth in the design brief to us. We have also taken you on a journey starting with the point of purchase appeal and impact. We then summarize the ease of real-world application. This was followed by outlining the protective nature of the design as well as the environmental considerations that were taken. And finally, we've shown you how color and colors are necessary components to the success of any design. We thank you for your time, and once again, we have proven that packaging does matter. Thank you.
All right, great job. Thank you, Team 1. Thank you for telling us about your process. We really enjoy that.
They weren't
So do you
laughing.
think this is going to look great on the resumes? You know, you bet it is. And that's why all of you out there should plan to enter the 2011 competition. Entries are due June 17th, and you go to the ICPF or AICC websites to learn more about competition. Each of you student structural designers with us today should consider competing. Now let's go to Mohawk team number 2 as they quickly change their set over, consisting of Mark Jardine, Shani Williams, Tasha Lee Aird. This second Mohawk College team will show, tell, and sell us on their design, Blossom. Mohawk team 2, are you ready?
We are ready. Are you ready?
I'm always ready. Let's do it.
That's great. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are very excited to be here with you today, and we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves real quick.
My name is Shani Williams. I'm currently a packaging intern with Parmalat Canada.
Tasha Aird, I'm currently an intern at Unilever Canada.
And I am Mark Jardine, and I am also an intern at Unilever Canada. And over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how our design is the most cost-effective and environmentally friendly choice while keeping the products protected during shipping and keeping the point of purchase eye-catching on the retail counter. So let's begin. When we began our design, we were given a list of restrictions and specifications to follow. And when we looked at all the information, we decided that board usage would be our #1 priority. If we could maximize the board usage of the design, get easily assembled, keep the products protected, keep the whole thing recyclable and eye-catching, then we would really hit a home run with our design. And we're now going to hear from Tasha, who's going to talk about the design a little more closely.
This design was created with carbon footprint at the forefront of our priorities. The waste of board actually down. As you can see, it's as close to rectangle as you can possibly get. And the waste on this board is 18%. So this can significantly be reduced when you nest the blanks together during the die cutting process. When assembled, it represents a wedge, which we also felt was complementary to the secondary pack. There's only one adhesive strip used in this assembly, as well as it's minimal. And now we're going to go to an animation of this.
Hopefully. Oh, we're... Just give us a second. Our animation.
Sorry about that.
Some technical issues here.
What happens is basically laid out flat. It gets folded in together, and then the top comes up. The two pieces on the bottom will create a graphic image when the perfume is removed. The inserts are perfed from the die line itself. And they also, those inserts will help hold the product in place during shipment to ensure that nothing moves. And now Shani's going to talk to you.
An innovation aspect of the design when inside the shipper was, like Tasha said, the products near the front of the panel of the point of purchase display are not supported like the ones near the rear of the panel are. So to solve this problem, we have added perforated edges into the design. These are easily assembled and they provide the necessary support during the distribution cycle. These inserts were added to the design, not made separately, to ensure that the manufacturing facility would have an even amount of material for each thing. The name of the brand, Blossom, was chosen to represent the natural beauty of the consumer during their younger, more vibrant years. The logo is a Japanese kanji symbol meaning blossom. It was chosen for its very unique look. The strategy behind the brand name, as well as the artwork, was to give the impression that the product came from Asia. This was accomplished by using the Japanese kanji symbol as our logo, as well as making the graphics soft, beautiful, with a high contrast. This ensures that customers will both see the product and recognize it as a high quality product. The dark background and the beautiful gold flowers mixed with the gold mirror foil together accomplish the graphic aspirations.
Thank you both Shani and Tasha. So in conclusion, our presentation has discussed our intro, our basic design strategy, the design itself, some innovative aspects, as well as the branding and graphics. And in closing, we'd like to leave you with a quote from one of our guest lecturers that we had, who told us that if we want to be successful in this industry, we must make a choice to either be on the cutting edge of innovation or the most cost-effective choice for the consumer. And this design is our attempt at being the most cost-effective choice while remaining to be innovative. So we'd like to thank the International Corrugated Packaging Foundation and all the schools watching our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great job, Team 2. That was an absolute beauty, eh? Great presentations from everyone. I think that there could be a career opening in corrugated packaging and design for each of you. Please remember to visit ICPF's website, www.careersincorrugated.org, to view available jobs that are regularly posted there. Also, contact ICPF by email if you're interested in internships and joining the Career Network. It's a great way to get your foot in the door for a full-time position in the corrugated industry upon graduation. Now, before we identify the winners, I'd like to remind design students to enter the 2011 AICC Student Design Competition. The categories are Design to an Opportunity, Open Design, and Corrugated as Art. However, the ICPF does not include the category Corrugated as Art in the Best of the Best runoff competition. This year, AICC's Design to an Opportunity is a real-world challenge to design and create a PDQ, that's pretty darn quick, counter display that will promote an at-home movie gift package that will hold one 12-ounce canned beverage, provide a space for a packaged DVD, and one large chocolate bar of 3 ounces. Again, the deadline for these design entries is June 17th, 2011. Full competition materials are available through a link to AICC from ICPF's website at www.careersincorrugated.org. We hope that you'll participate in this competition that brings you cash prizes, recognition, and exposure to the industry that benefits your future. Judges, do we have a winner?
It was close.
Turn on.
We do have a winner. I'd like to congratulate Morgan, Jeff, and Michelle, La City Team 1 for their outstanding efforts in their display. They will receive $1,500 cash prize and a $2,500 grant to support the school. And second place, Team 2 with Mark, Shani, Tasha, for the Blossom display will receive $1,000. So great efforts on both teams, really, and an outstanding job. And don't take offense to the Canada stuff. I just like to have fun with that. So. I love to go up there and go salmon fishing and everything. It's really good.
We'll send you some maple syrup.
Oh, that'd be awesome. It looks like your time is up. Thank you for tuning in. We hope that you all participate next year. I would like to say thank you to Steve Young, the president of the AICC, who's in the back of the room here at MSU today. Richard Flaherty, the president of the ICPF. And for our talent that's come today and help get the word out to everybody on what's new and what's happening in our industry, our exciting industry, and also the Michigan State University staff here at the studio to put all this on. Takes a lot of effort, about 6 people scrambling and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really good effort on everybody. Thank you very much, and remember to check the ICPF's website. Have a great day.
Thank you.